Well, race 5 not far from getting underway, and that was Jeffrey Rietveld of Team Redline, who will be their representative at the next race, which is at Monza, of course. I'm Ewan O'Leary alongside Lewis McGlade for another race, and we're past the halfway mark in the group stage in the Teams Championship. Now, 4 races remaining to find out which 6 teams will be heading in towards the finals tomorrow, where $600,000 are to be paid out. We're looking forward to this, and Team Redline are going to need a turnaround with Jeffrey Rietveld there.
Yeah, certainly so. They're in a bit of a bad position right now, mostly courtesy of that kind of race. Kevin Siggy being spun out, kind of regarded as him being pinching Mitchell de Jong onto the curb, then going out right. I mean, they're not very happy within the Redline camp, and they find themselves below the cut line. Very scary times for a team that we were expecting coming into this to, honestly, based on practice, to be the favourites.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before we dive into that too much, or just before we move forward towards the next race here at Monza, what did you think about that decision to not have a penalty there for Mitchell de Jong?
I think it's 50-50. I mean, Siggy pinches him onto the curb, so I kind of agree, but also at the same time, I mean, that's pretty brutal. I don't know what I would do if I was in that position, and stop trying to get answers out of me in that case.
Well, yeah, Kevin Siggy was very, very unimpressed indeed about that one. Yeah, he's just going to have to deal with it and maybe come back tomorrow if indeed they get there. But this is where we'll be racing at the next one. This is race 5. It's at Monza. One of the drivers who is out there at the moment is Oscar Bixrud for Heroic. It's been a decent day for that team so far. 8th place, not so far away from the cut line, which is currently held by Apex, the last place inside that top 6. And Oscar Bixrud is going to need a good performance here to help them along.
Yeah, he's an impressive driver, the youngest driver in ESL R1, sponsored by Aramco here at Gamers8. So certainly one to keep an eye on from our point of view. But I think, Ewan, we should probably take a look at the standings right now, because like we said, Redline, they are below the cut line. We're looking for the top 6.
We are indeed. So Redline currently, 4 points away. Heroic only 3. G2 only a couple of points away. It's very, very close around that top 6 marker, but the big surprise, as you say, is Team Redline. They're down in 9th place.
Yeah, that is, like I say, it's huge. It's absolutely huge to have a team like that below there. But of course, you know, we've got Jeffrey Rietveld in action in this race. Anyone who will remember back to yesterday will obviously remember, yes, there was an incident, but fair enough. But he was obviously one of the drivers contending for the Drivers' Championship yesterday in a thrilling fight between himself, Joshua Rogers as well in there, and of course Maximilian Benneker came through to take victory.
Unfortunately, those two are not racing each other today, Rietveld and Rogers, and neither Benneker and Rogers are in the last group, but Rietveld not with the others of those who made it to finalist mode yesterday. Do wonder what he's going to do today after clinching that 3rd place, and already $52,000 to his name as well. See how he gets on. But out of the hit groups, this could be one of those which he can get a result from. Let's go down though back to the stage once again and have a little look at Kevin Siggy, who's with Rory.
Again with Kevin. Sorry, Kevin, you're going to be sick of me after this one. We're here, you're chilling out after obviously your racing, and we've just had the news that there's no further action from the incident at Spa. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, I've seen it beforehand, and I wasn't very pleased, but I also can sort of understand why it was the case. It's just a matter of the game having this sort of contact model that doesn't allow you to race very often when like the guy's front bumper is at your rear. So it was just an unfortunate spin in the end. I mean, no further action. I mean, I guess it's justified in that sense. It's that decision that decision has been made. So I'm still kind of angry about it, but I mean, I can't do anything about it. I mean, I've looked at the replay multiple times and I can sort of agree with them, but I mean, I wish I would have done something better, but it is what it is.
So a good period of reflection after the initial obvious, emotion, because it means so much, this, doesn't it? There's so much money on the line, not just for you personally, but the entire team. So it's obvious that emotions are going to be high, but we really, really appreciate your time. We're glad you're feeling a little bit better about it all, and yeah, we hope to see you again soon. Thank you so much. We'll see you again, guys.
Kevin Siggy seemingly having calmed down ever so slightly after that incident now, and he said there that he understands from both sides. Do you necessarily believe him?
No.
I don't.
We are in qualifying anyway, so it could be time for his teammate Jeffrey Rietveld to put one over the squad. I've got to say, first sector from Moritz Lerner here, actually really good. Second sector is not going to be so much. That was courtesy of missing the apex in the second Lesmo. He got a slow down penalty from that as well.
Yeah, that's a couple of seconds away for him, or a second and a bit, so that's going to be down the order for Moritz Lerner. Unfortunately, he's finished 7th in the regular season points for the spring. And said to me during the spring major that he'd rather watch, to be honest, than drive. He was so
I
lonely.
remember that.
Yeah, he was so enthralled by what he was seeing in front of him, he didn't really want to drive anymore, but instead watch along as we were all enjoying. He makes his way over the line though and sets an unimpressive benchmark of 48.3. You'd expect most of the drivers following on from this to be doing a bit better than that.
Yeah, including this man here, Dane Warren. First sector, a couple of hundredths of a second slower than what we'd expect. We know he should be in the 0.7s. Second sector is okay. This will beat Moritz Lerner's time. What we're expecting is a low 46. A 0.0 is decent. We'll have to wait and see what this is going to be. I think it's going to be a 0.1 or a 0.2 as he crosses on. It is indeed a 0.1, a 46.135. That will not hold pole position, I am almost certain.
Well, let's see if Thibaut Casabon is going to be the one to take that away from him. As we were saying earlier on, IHG Esports don't actually need to do anything else now. We don't think, anyway, to progress into the finals tomorrow. They've had such a good start with Marcel Chinchik and Erhan Yoshki taking 2 wins out of the races so far. Thibaut Casabon is going to make his way to the line now. And it will be a 46.2. He can't quite take that pole away from Dane Warren just yet.
No, certainly so. Next up, though, is the driver we need to focus on. Team Redline below the cut line. Jeffrey Rietveld, contender for the Drivers' Championship yesterday here at the Gamers 8, of course, ESL R1, sponsored by Aramco. Rietveld will come through the final corner of the Parabolica. The sectors are looking okay. First, average. Second, really sensational. He'll cross the line to set a 46.045. Now, that is a time that will take some beating.
It certainly will. Let's see if Oscar Mixrud can be the one to do it, because he's also below the cut line with Heroic, is the Norwegian. As you say, the youngest driver in this competition, looking to use pace ahead of his years, you might say, to climb over Jeffrey Rietveld. We know the Porsche is very strong around here. It's arguably the fastest at Monza, but will the driver be able to just power it towards that? It's going to be a 46.4 for Oscar Mixrud. Unfortunately, a bit further down than they need to be.
Saw the shaking of the head. He wasn't particularly pleased with that lap. Next time, though, 5-time Formula Sim Racing World Champion Bunner Hoos will be coming up to the final corner. The first sector is good. The second sector, not so much, about 2/10 off. I think it'll be faster than Bixter and slower than Casabon into 4th position for Bono. He's looked pretty relaxed this weekend as he comes up towards the line. He'll put his Mercedes into 5th, actually. Lost a lot of time in that second sector, but only a couple of thousandths behind the Norwegian.
Pedro Sanchez losing a couple of attempts here or there, and this is not a favourable position for him to be in, of course. Used to being a downforce driver, driving cars with more aerodynamic downforce than this, and not used to being on Rennsport either. He's making his debut on this platform here for BS Plus competition, who really do have some work to do. They're nearly 20 points below the cut line at this stage, or rather just over 10. So they need a good performance from Pedro Sanchez, but that's not going to happen there. It's a 46.6 from him.
Oh, wow. You can see him hitting the wheel. Jakub Brzezinski's received a slow-down penalty here on the exit of Ascari. He'll do what he can. He'll come down into that final sector. We'll have to wait and see. The first and second sector actually not too bad. He was tracking pretty well, but just a little bit of an excursion late on, and I think we might well be aiming for a time that might actually end up being slower than Moritz Lerner. The slowdowns at the exit of Ascari can be brutal, and it does end up being slower than Moritz Lerner. That is a big shame for Brzezinski. Dara McCormack doing a lot of work early on, and unfortunately not quite having the assistance he needs if Williams are to progress. They find themselves above the cut line at the moment, but that could change.
Look at how disappointed Jakub Brzezinski was as well. He knows that alongside Dara McCormack, he is one of those drivers who really does need to perform well, because last up is Daniel Pastor making his debut in ESL R1 here today. That could be crucial for them. Peter Berryman makes his way over the line as well for Apex, and an important opening session from him. It's a 46.5 though, only 6th.
Yeah, certainly so. Obviously, after that race win from Kevin Ellis Jr., it's put the Apex Racing team inside the cut line, so they will be moving through going into tomorrow's action should everything finish as it's going. Gustavo Ariel now into the final corner. He will come up towards the line. It's not looking great in that first sector, though. Again, time around where Pedro Sanchez was, maybe ahead of Berryman as well. I think it might be 7th. As he crosses on, actually ends up being 6th, so just ahead of Berryman by 100ths of a second.
Jembolit Bassi here as well, looking for a good performance, but I'm afraid a couple of attempts away from where he needs to be. I think the only driver remaining to maybe topple Jeffrey Rietveld is Joni Turmela in the BMW as well, of course, as Team Redline. Bulabassi in the Porsche that currently holds 2nd and 4th up at the top, but the Super Formula competitor probably not going to be getting near to those guys. Had a good couple of races on Thursday actually, but it still wasn't enough for a top 12. Could do with that again, but it's only a 46.9 here.
Yeah, I'm not too shocked by that lap time from Bullock Bassi. That first sector was quite a way off. The second sector was also quite a way off. These sectors from Joni Turmela aren't actually looking like they are going to contend with Jeffrey Rietveld, so it does look like the ALJ fastest lap for qualifying will go the way of Rietveld, because Turmela's coming out through the final corner. Up towards the line he'll go, probably into the mid-pack there, and certainly is. He'll actually go up to 4th position, 3/10 off. This group has not set any consistent lap times comparatively to the groups we've had previous.
Absolutely not, and that's why I was arguing that this group was possibly the weakest on Thursday compared to Group A, which is what we were arguing about a little bit beforehand. Jeffrey Rietveld, though, has taken the pole position. You'd certainly expect him to, based on the performance he put in yesterday and the day before, and maybe you would say that this kind of group and this kind of performance gave him a bit of confidence heading forward into those rounds. It's Jakub Brzezinski at the back, though, alongside Moritz Lerner. 2 disappointments there on the back row, with Jembolit Bassi and Pedro Sanchez just inside the top 10. Peter Berryman and Gustavo Ariel are on row 4, ahead of Bono House and Oscar Bixard, who's inside the top 5. Joni Turmela stuck into 4th at the end, with Thibaut Casamont in 3rd, Dane Warren, and then Jeffrey Rietveld, who has the ALJ fastest qualifying lap here for race 5 at Monza. 3rd place overall yesterday in the drivers' standings. Now in the teams' championship, looking to pull Team Redline from the depths of being below the cut line.
Yeah, and certainly so. Of course, in Thursday's action, you were saying when he was racing against this very group, he actually ended up with a 1st place finish here at Monza. Finished 3rd in the other race, which ended up being Hockenheimring on that day. Their second race will actually be around the no, it will be around the Hockenheimring as well. So things are looking quite good for Jeffrey Rietveld at the moment. Yeah,
everyone in the groups, by the way, doing the same tracks. Apart from that change we've already talked about with Darren McCormack and Daniel Pastor, they have changed around which tracks they're doing and which groups they're in, but everybody else thinking that it doesn't really make sense to change, to be honest. I might as well just practice the 2 circuits. Jeffrey Rietveld, though, with the pole position, a pretty unbeatable lap time in the end. It's not an absolute peak in terms of what you can manage, but in this group, it was.
It's not in the same category as that pole time that Joshua Rogers set yesterday in that Nürburgring. Genuinely one of the best laps I have ever seen in sim racing. It was incredible. He said to get that lap time, I know it's completely off topic, but to get that lap time, he had to beat his optimal lap, which he'd set at home, he'd never set his optimum lap because it was all like the optimal sectors put together. He went faster than that inland. That is how good that lap time was from Joshua Rogers. We'll see him out a bit later on in the final grouping. But of course, one of the drivers that was contending with him, that was beating him yesterday, Jeffrey Rietveld, in this one, looking to continue on this excellent form he's had at LAN here.
Yeah, he really has had excellent form, and especially considering the regular season and the major that he had, it's somewhat of a surprise, it's got to say, but a pleasant one, and Team Redline will be hoping that he can pull them along into that top 6, because at the moment they are shockingly outside of the cut line. Let's not forget, of course, top 6 progress through to finals day tomorrow in the team's championship, where $600,000 are being competed for. In terms of the others, it's going to be about making your way through the order. Moritz Lerner and Jakub Brzezinski are starting from the back row.
Yeah, certainly so. Like I say, a lot of work for those when Mouse are in 4th position. Obviously, again, a little bit of a reminder of those 6 teams that will be progressing at the moment as we pass halfway through. R8G, Mercedes-AMG Petronas Esports team, Williams Esports, Mouse, G2 and Porsche Coanda just about will be the 6 drivers, or 6 teams rather, to progress. So the Apex Racing team find themselves just below the cut line. Heroic, Redline, BMW, BS Competition, Furia and FaZe.
I think especially those 3 just below the cut line are dangerous in terms of getting into the top 6. Not sure about BS Plus Competition, Furia or FaZe Clan, to be honest, but you never know. Anything can happen.
We can blame Felix for BMW.
We can. I'm sure he'll be very pleased about that.
But obviously, Felix Van Delft, the one that's on the pit wall for them.
Yes, sorry to them. Didn't get anyone. None of those guys got anyone through into the finals tomorrow. Yesterday. Let's not forget. So yeah, maybe that is going to form and to be expected. Race 5 at Monza then, ready to get underway. Eventually, when those lights come on, the Jeffrey Rietveld will be on the front alongside Dane Warren, and it is a good start from Dane Warren alongside. Rietveld may well have just done enough to hold on to the lead on the very long run in towards the Retafilio for the first time. It's Thibaut Casabon on the outside of Warren as well, as he gets the slipstream in towards the first chicane, and Yoni Tomala gets involved as well. Everybody diving down the inside, including Peter Barryman of Apex Racing Team, but out of the first chicane, everybody makes it all cleanly.
Yeah, I think it was Oscar Bixford right into the rear end of Yoni Tomala. Contact between the pair of them, pushing them all out wide, but thankfully they all managed to come through in all of that somehow. You've got the Apex Racing Team, Peter Berryman behind the wheel, battling it out with Fury as well. BMW and Team BS Competition in all of that. We go side by side up towards the Rogier. Let's see if we're going to have any 3 wide. No, we are not. Fury down the inside. Gustavo Ariel trying to make the move on Peter Berryman, and he is going to sweep his way through. He's got to do it though at the Lesmos.
It's going to be side by side and nearly 3 wide. On the inside is Pedro Sanchez. Very aggressive from him as Gustavo Ariel is pushed out wide. Moritz Lerner trying to make some moves as well into Lesmo too. This is fantastic racing from 7th on backwards. The top 6 enjoying this. They are getting away.
Yeah, this is that was pretty bold from Pedro Sanchez. I've got to say that was aggressive down to the first Lesmo, and it might well cost Gustavo Ariel, who's now been passed by Moritz Lerner, who's been passed by Jakub Brzezinski as well. Just about coming down to Ascari. Brzezinski around the outside is able to keep it on the road, so it is the pole getting ahead of the Brazilian driver Cembelik Bassi, the only driver behind him now in 12th place. The run on the back stretch up towards the Parabolica sees Jeffrey Rietveld leading, and I'm sure he's going to cross the line to hold on to the first lap.
Absolutely. Well, it's still pretty close actually between all of the 12 drivers in this race, but Jeffrey Rietveld has probably had the best start of those at the front, and Dane Warren's qualifying pace has once again put him up to a better position than he's able to race in by the looks of this early form. Yuni Tomala in the slipstream, gaining on the inside now as well, and he should have this 3rd place on the brakes, so let's Dane Warren really fight for this, and he will very late on the brakes. Tomala not aggressive enough, and Warren holds on to 3rd.
Yeah, counter to how we've seen some of the Porsche Coanda drivers racing in kind of races prior. This is a slightly different performance from Dane Warren. He knows he's got a bit more weight on his shoulders. Porsche Coanda are not a million miles above the cut line. They need to get some decent results, and they need results like this. He must hang on to 3rd. Yoni Tomala's going to back out because, again, G2, they are in the hunt for it as well, so they can't afford to risk anything too major. This is what is making this format so exciting. It is risk versus reward, ladies and gentlemen. We are halfway through the competition today, and we're looking for the top 6 teams, and they are battling brutally hard around all the circuits today.
They certainly are. It's been wonderful racing, and Monza providing it once again. Added, of course, for the Munich Major into Rennsport, and what an addition it has been as well. For the lead, Jeffrey Rietveld and Thibaut Casabon only 0.2 of a second apart at the end of the 2nd lap, or coming towards the end of the 2nd lap. Dane Warren still hanging on to 3rd here, just around a second behind. Then it's Yuri Tomala, Bono House and Oscar Bigstrud inside the top 6. Jakub Brzezinski's making places as well. He just got through on Pedro Sanchez.
Yeah, missing the part of that move. We'll see on board here. This is, of course, looking down the inside of Dane Warren. Yoni Tomala, it was just about over the curb on the inside, managed to hook it back up, no position switch. Gustavo Ariel straight down the inside of Pedro Sanchez. Contact between the 2 BMWs riding in 10th and 11th position, and BMW MTBS Competition out wide. Whilst the liveries are close, they are not the same team.
Certainly not, but Gustavo Ariel has got the slipstream there and should be fine. As Thibaut Casabon goes to the lead, Jeffrey Rietveld has to give that one over as RAG Esports lead another race here on Saturday in Riyadh. What a day they're having.
Yeah, and you've got to say, clearly, Marcel Chinchik, the master of Monza, has been giving some advice to Thibaut Casabon. He's been a fantastic addition to the RAG squad as we see the likes of Moritz Lerner battling it out with Peter Berryman. Once again, behind all of that, Pedro Sanchez and Gustavo Ariel battling it out for 10th position, but the progress up the order from Moritz Lerner has been fantastic. Same with Brzezinski, as Gustavo Ariel's going to look to the inside for Fury to try and get past the BMW MTBS competition car. He's going to half commit to it. They might be into the back of Brzezinski here. Not quite. Brilliant racing.
Absolutely fantastic. And Gustavo Ariel heads to the outside now of Sanchez Albert, who gets pretty out of shape out of the second chicane. Unfortunately, gets back in place again before the next two right-handers, but good racing there from 10th on backwards. Cembalik Bassi involved as well. Those three, of course, not so experienced in Rennsport and ESL R1, having not done the whole season, unlike Jakub Brzezinski, who was one of the very best drivers as well, of course. Made the Munich Major, didn't make it all the way to day 2, unfortunately, but was in the top 12 for yesterday in the Drivers' Championship. He's up to 9th place now, following Moritz Lerner through as they make their way through the order.
Dane Moritz closed back into the race lead as well. He's only 6 tenths off, dragging Joni Tourmala with him. So for Jeffrey Rietveld and Thibaut Casabon, since the RAG driver has hit the front, question marks are going to be thrown around. Jakub Brzezinski to the inside and Moritz Lerner into the Parabolica. The defensive line's being taken from Moritz Lerner. It's aggressive from Jakub Brzezinski. He knows he needs to work his way up the order. He knows he needs to assist his teammates Jack Keithley and of course Dara McCormack when it comes to their position within the points. That was tight stuff. Good defence though from Moritz Lerner.
Very good defence, and now Jeffrey Rietveld is playing the game. Thibaut Casabon leads, but just notice the way that the Dutchman held off there. Is he going to do that all race, or are we going to see a period of waiting? Is this going to be similar to the race we saw with him and Max Penneker yesterday? It was, what, race 4 maybe? Race 5? Where he needed to win to get finalist mode. It was race 5. He needed to win to get finalist mode, but couldn't quite get there in time. Well, waited a long time and then couldn't get there, having waited for the final 3 laps or so.
But these two teams are in very different positions. Thibaut Casabon does not need to win this race. Jeffrey Rietveld kind of does.
However, how much would Thibaut Casabon like to prevent Redline from going through into the top 6?
Exactly. That's the team games they're going to be playing. He'll try and defend that. At the moment, basically on our points from what we've calculated, effectively RAG are pretty much going through. But it's all about that battle for the cut-off. If they could prevent Team Redline going through, that would be big. Let's take a look at a replay though. Moritz Lerner trying to work his way around the outside of Peter Berryman. Very tight stuff. And it was Moritz Lerner working his way around the outside of the Curva Grande, inside for the Roger. Fantastic stuff between the pair. Berryman able to hang on.
Yeah, really well along the outside there, Berryman. Couldn't quite get to the inside again for the right-hander, but the exit from Lerner just wasn't quite good enough. And now Lerner's lost a bit. Well, where has Berryman gone? Wow, what's happened to Peter Berryman?
What has happened to Peter Berryman?
Well, that is a bizarre, and he's just at the back there, so it's been an incident here. Peter Berryman has definitely had an incident, possibly with Moritz Lerner, but I don't want to say that too early. He's dropped down to 12th though.
Yeah, that is a bit shocking there for Peter Berryman. Like I say, he's about 3 seconds off the back of Cembalik Bassi. He might well be able to sneak a few points into this. The great race pace and victory that Kevin Ellis Jr. Had to move Apex Racing Team up in the point standings to just below the cut-off point might well be unravelled here a little bit from whatever's happened to Peter Berryman in the recent past. What we do know though is we've got a battle for the race lead, and it's not 1 or 2 cars. It goes down to 6th place. It's Casabon, Rietveld, Warren, Joni Tourmala, then Buderhaus and Oscar Bichterud all involved in this strain as Brzezinski's battling to try and get past Lerner for 7th.
On board with Jeffrey Rietveld right now into the second chicane. Casabon leading, but does Jeffrey Rietveld even need to move from here? Because if you think about it, Apex Racing Team scoring 0 points is absolutely massive for Team Redline. It's very helpful indeed, and they would vault straight in front of them by some distance with this one. They would also get near to the likes of Heroic and possibly G2 as well. Jeffrey Rietveld maybe doesn't need to move from the position he's currently in.
No, certainly not. Well, you can see Cembalik Bassi there driving along. just kind of out in a bit of nowhere land at the moment. 10th position at the moment. He's about 6/10 behind Gustavo Ariel, not close enough to fight, but this is where the fight really is. Like you say, Thibaut Casabon's done a fantastic job to hang on to the race lead, but with still plenty of time left in the race, you've got to ask the question, as we were saying earlier, how much does Rietveld risk to get past Casabon? How much does Casabon risk to keep Rietveld behind?
Well, let's see. Out of the final corner for Thibaut Casabon right now. He's going to have some defending to do here, you would imagine. Jeffrey Rietveld's close in behind. Then it's Dane Warren, who is even closer. Now Rietveld's going to go for it, maybe because of the presence of Warren and the fact that he's getting a little bit closer, wanting to protect that second place rather than go for first. It's side by side into the first chicane between Redline and RHE, two of the top teams in ESL R1, rubbing shoulders door to door on the exit of the first chicane, and Dane Warren's involved as well.
Yeah, that's up there for some excellent defence, but Dane Warren might well be able to make the double move. Let's see what he can do once again. Casabon's not defending from one driver, he's defending from both as it's nearly 3 wide up towards the Roger. This is incredible stuff, but it is going to be RHG just about hanging on to the race lead. That is fantastic defence from Thibaut Casabon.
And Dane Warren couldn't quite get the exit he needed, but Yoni Termala could. He's on the outside very nearly, in towards Lesmo 1, and can't make it all the way around there, but top 6 absolutely together. This race is going to kick off now with just 3 laps remaining. Thibaut Casabon leads, but for how much longer?
Yeah, he's desperately trying to hang on at the moment, but you kind of get the feeling it's a question of when, not if. You know, between this lot, there could well be some switches coming up. There is a look at Dane Warren in the top right of your screen. You can see his face on the left-hand side. You can see the emotion, or lack thereof. He is laser focused on this race. Of course, with the Porsche Commander Esports team, they do have Joshua Rogers coming up next, but for them, they would like to secure their position into tomorrow's event without the requirement of Joshua Rogers, so he can just get out there and go and do something special.
Yeah, I did ask Dane earlier on whether that was intentional to put Josh Rogers last and put himself penultimate as well, because I would say that in ascending order of speed over the course of the season, that's the way they've done it. But he said, not really, it's just kind of happened like that with the circuits and the way that they selected it for day 3, so fair enough. At the moment, he's third, just behind this man, Jeffrey Rietveld, not looking for the lead quite so tightly this time.
Yeah, certainly had a look down the inside, but nothing too major. Again, when you have those looks down the inside, it may well be more so a defensive gesture towards Dane Warren rather than an attacking one. There's still 3 laps left to go in this race, and I think they're just being patient. The 6 drivers that are battling for the race lead still remain in single file as we head round Curva Grande. They still remain in position, and they still remain in that fight for the transfer spots.
They do. Now over the curves again through the first chicane. This is the battle that has been really intriguing us so far in this race, from 1st to 6th. Most of these teams you would expect to make it, maybe with the exception of Heroic, who at the moment are gaining on Apex Racing Team, and Williams as well, who they need to gain on if they want to get into that final 6. It's still very close around there though, of course, in that region, and we're still not entirely sure who's going to make it out of the group stage. In towards Ascari, looking back from Thibaut Casabon. Top 6 as close as they ever were. Now what does Jeffrey Rietveld do? One unsuccessful attempt. He hasn't got much choice but to go for it, because Dane Warren is right behind.
Yeah, let's see. It's going to be a tough end to the race for Casabon. I mean, I've been in this kind of position, not in this grid, don't worry, but I've been in these kind of positions where you're in the last moments. You know that every one of these drivers is being patient behind you. It's not about fuel saving, it's not about anything like that. This is a sprint race after all. You're just being patient behind. You're waiting for your right time to overtake to stop the move switching back around on you. And you just know that there is a big move coming. This could be it for Rietveld.
Oh, he taps the brakes.
Taps the brakes as well. Wow.
Taps the brakes. Well, maybe he's realised that Dane Warren wasn't quite as close that time. I'm convinced that he doesn't really need to or want to go for first here, but he's just protecting from Dane Warren, who's just in behind at the moment. And on that occasion, the Porsche Commander Esports driver was just not quite close enough. What about on the run towards the second chicane? Because arguably, Rietveld's even closer this time, and he took it towards the inside, taps the brakes again. and still not happening.
I think it's because he's not far enough alongside for him to feel comfortable to go for it. Again, Rietveld is playing the game where he knows the team need 20 points. If 20 points is what they'll get from this race, then so be it. It would be enough to kind of catapult them up above the cut line. You don't need 25. Rietveld, though, is still trying to find something. He's right over the rear end of Casabon as they head through. Quarter of a second between the pair of them. Dane Warren also into the mix. It's really, really close. I think Maurice Lerner and Jakub Brzezinski are closing in on this.
Is Thibaut Casabon going to have his heart broken on the last lap at Monza for the second time in a week? This could be massive on the last lap here in race 5 at Monza. Out through at the Ascari chicane again. Dane Warren keeping a very nice line through there. Mashes the curbs on the exit and actually just struggles a little bit with power now. And Johnny Tomola will get quite close on the way towards the Parabolica. Is this the situation we're going to see on the very last lap as well? As once again, Jeffrey Rietveld taps the brakes on the way into the final turn. 1 lap to go around Monza, and still any one of 6 teams could win this race.
Yeah, it's absolutely madness at the moment. They're all fighting for 25 points. They're all fighting to get themselves in that top 6, but this could be it. Final lap of the race then. Thibaut Casabon leads, Jeffrey Rietveld behind. Dane Warren also involved in the mix. Is Dane Warren going to go for anything? Is he going to force Jeffrey Rietveld to potentially try something here? Rietveld is down the inside. Casabon is under attack, and Rietveld is sending it, the Flying Dutchman, down the inside into the left of Filio as they leave the corner. This is advantage Rietveld.
Advantage Dane Warren somewhat as well as he takes it free wide, and Warren continuing to push Casabon. He wants to eliminate Team Redline and just as much as RAG do. He's trying to make it free wide around the Curva Grande. That's not going to work. He looks left and right. He can't find the room at the moment. Down the inside for Casabon. Jeffrey Rietveld really late on the brakes. He's made it work. Fantastic overtake.
Incredible from Jeffrey Rietveld on Casabon. That was amazing. It's better than the move we saw from Holtzman earlier on Brzezinski. On Keithley. That was absolutely fantastic from Jeffrey Rietveld. It was brave, it was bold. He didn't need to do it, but it's still throwing down the gauntlet to the rest of the field. You were counting out Team Redline. You were wrong.
Casabon just got it ever so slightly wrong through Lesmo 2, and now Dane Warren's on his case going into the Ascari chicane. Jeffrey Rietveld still leads here. They'll be single file. What's going to happen into the final corner here?
Yeah, certainly so. So Rietveld then leads out of Ascari, hopefully not pushing it out wide. Casabon and Warren in tow. Tourmala are also in there. Butterhouse will want an extra couple of points. Dane Warren will want an extra couple of points, though, because he's going to try and look down the inside. Defended, though, from Casabon as we head down towards the Parabolica. They've all forgotten about Rietveld. He's gone.
He's gone, and he's going to take the win here for Team Redline. Casabon's going to have to go on the defensive, and Dane Warren will get a good run. It's going to be Jeffrey Rietveld for Team Redline, who wins race 5 at Monza. What a fantastic one it was as well. Thibaut Casabon beats Dane Warren to the line, with Yoni Tomola, Bono House, Oscar Bigstra coming over the line within milliseconds of each other.
Yeah, again, incredible. What a race victory from Jeffrey Rietveld. I've said before with Rietveld, he's looked strong at points this season, but at LAN here, a different level. This is a different Rietveld. This is a Rietveld we've not seen so far in ESL R1. He is phenomenal this weekend.
And for a Dutchman, he's coping with the climate very well. I've got to say, you wouldn't expect this to be the kind of situation he'd be thriving in the 45-degree heat, but goodness me, Jeffrey Rietveld having a good week, and at the moment he's pulling Team Redline towards safety, towards the top 6. Enzo Benito knows it as well. He's going to have a job to do today. He might have thought that he'd be safe by the time he has to race in 7 and 8. Not the case. Jeffrey Rietveld has made his job easier, but it's by no means done for them yet.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just Team Redline, they were below the cut line coming into it. They will certainly be above the cut line coming out of it, courtesy of the driver, that man right there. He's just soaking up the pressure. Issues for Siggy earlier on, issues for Bennett as well, and all the like. It doesn't matter for him. It just doesn't matter. He is able to push them up to the top, and once again, look absolutely fantastic.
A further step to safety for RAG Esports, by the way, who are now only 1 race away from confirming their place mathematically in race 6. With still 2 remaining. That will be absolutely massive news for them. Let's have a look at a replay of how Rietveld did it right at the very end of this race. He came from relatively far back, but Dane Warren was hounding him quite regularly throughout that race, forcing him to go for this kind of move.
Yeah, so good. Down the inside, nice and tasty. Of course, Thibaut Casabon is able to hang it around the outside going into the Retifilio, but it all lasted up to the Rogier, where they were side by side all the way around Curva Grande. Dane Warren played his part in all of this as well.
He certainly did, pushing Casabon along, kind of cheekily hoping that Redline are going to get eliminated here by helping RHE Esports going along here, just to make sure that Redline could be denied points, but in the end it didn't quite work out. That was the second game for the first time. Dane Warren tried to get the exit here, ended up on the defensive from Joni Tomala. You can see in the black BMW just behind. Then there was the last lap here, and this was the one that Rietveld pulled off.
Yeah, certainly so. Obviously a little bit of assistance from Dane Warren. Smart stuff there. He wants them side by side. A little bit of a bump onto the rear end. Pushes the Team Redline car straight into the first corner. Once again, side by side, going through the Retifilio. The outside line was advantageous towards Team Redline. And look at that, Warren, little bit of a bump to the rear end. Just pushing that Team Redline car through a little bit. Nothing too major. But as they went round Curva Grande, it all lasted up towards the Rogier, where Rietveld was able to go through.
Yeah, Warren not really knowing where to go here. Joni Tomala couldn't get involved either. But it's Rietveld for Redline again. Let's hear from him now.
Jeffrey, what an incredible race. We obviously just saw moments ago how much it meant to Team Redline. They all came up to you, they kind of patted you on the back, everyone's congratulating you. It's got to feel great. It felt like you were biding your time, waiting for the perfect moment, because we did have a few opportune moments. I heard the commentators absolutely losing their minds over it. You should watch it back, it's hilarious. However, was that the case? Or was it just, let's pick the perfect moment, and on the final lap, this is my last chance?
It was all about picking the perfect moment, because we lacked top speed. I had Dane behind, super close. And behind him, it was also very close, so I knew I had to position myself perfectly. I knew I had to position myself perfectly to, try and go for the win, because we really need the points. We've been quite unlucky in the first couple of races in the team championship, so really happy that we got rid of that bad luck, and we're back on the right foot again.
فعلا تشجيع على فريقه ادى او بالاصح طلع ثماره في هذا السباق، مستوى رهيب شفناه من جيفري في هذا السباق، وفعلا الاداء اللي قدمه برضه فيه يعني شفناه كان شوي بعيد عن المراكز الاولى في البدايه، فسالناه عن ايش السبب اللي كانت في هذا السباق، انه ليش خلينا نقول انك كنت شوي صانع مسافه واستغليتها في الاخير، فهل كانت هذه جزء من الخطه؟ هو ذكر قال اكيد لانه شوي عنده في قيادته ما عنده الميزه في السرعه العاليه، فيحاول يستغلها بالثغرات الى اخر لحظه، بعدين يبدا ياخذها في اللحظه الاخيره ويتقدم في السباق، وفعلا هذا اللي شفناه منه وقدر يتفوق فيها.
Well, you personally have had an absolutely fantastic performance here this week at ESL R1. So I guess the follow-up question really is, Hockenheim's up next. You've still got to get more points on the board. The job's not done. How are you feeling about going into that track?
It's my favorite track, so that's how I'm feeling.
فعلا سألناه عن المضمار القادم، كيف راح يكون أدائك فيه، وهل أنت برضو واثق منه؟ قال لحسن الحظ أن هذا المضمار المفضل لي أنا، فنأدي أداء ممتاز فيه.
That's exactly what we wanted to hear. I love it. Congratulations on that race win. We get a spud from you right there. And with that, we're going to head back over to the desk so they can break everything down for our next and final race of Group C.
بالضبط. الحين أعزائنا المشاهدين بعد ما أخذنا المقابلة، خلونا ننتقل الحين مرة ثانية على الاستوديو نشوف تفاصيلها ونرجع لكم في السباق اللي بعده.